West Hill United is a progressive spiritual community where how you live is more important than what you believe. West Hill United is a people, a place, an idea. We are a community living out of a progressive faith, striving to make a positive difference in our own lives, the lives of others, and the world. Join us Sundays at 10:30 a.m. or connect with us at any time.
Good morning, everybody online and in the building at West Hill. As today's welcomer reader, I want to extend a warm and a warmer today welcome to all those attending West Hill today. Greetings to those in the hall and greetings to those online. Greetings also to guests who may not have joined us previously. I invite you all to settle in and to truly enjoy today's presentation of Music Is Whatever You want it to be, whatever you need it to be. We start, as usual, with the land acknowledgement. West Hill is located in Treaty 20 in the area of the Williams Treaties of 1923. These are the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and were previously occupied by the Seneca and Huron-Wendat First Nations. However, there are over 600 First Nations in Canada, which represent more than 50 distinct Indigenous languages across our country. Many of us are continuing to learn about the enormous contributions Indigenous peoples have made to our lives and the value and wisdom in the First Nations teachings of the 7 grandfathers. Children are taught to practice living their lives with wisdom, love, respect, bravery, honesty, humility, truth. Values that enable people to live in a way that promotes harmony and balance with everyone and everything in creation. We invite you to visit the website of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, which provides a rich history of their people and their present-day activities. And I believe the address is on the screen. No, it's not. Okay. I want to now go over to Paula, who will introduce the Moose Hide campaign to us.
A statistic on the website of the Moose Hide campaign states that half of all women in Canada have experienced at least one incident of physical or sexual violence since the age of 16. That's a ratio of 1 in every 2 women. How did society get to this place of that shocking statistics and ailment in our society? William Pollock's research, shared in his book, Real Boys, clarifies how behaviors of violence stem from the boy code that boys learn in sandboxes, playgrounds, schoolrooms, camps, churches, and just about everybody else. In Pollock's conversation with boys, he found they referred to strict rules they had absorbed about how they must behave, rules that most of them seemed to genuinely fear breaking. He determined there are 4 imperatives at the heart of the boy code. First, men should be stoic, stable, and independent. A man never shows weakness. Second, boys must take a stance of extreme daring, bravado, and attraction to violence. Third, boys must avoid shame at all cost, wear a mask of coolness, act as though everything is going to be all right and is under control, even if it isn't. Fourth, boys must not engage in sissy stuff, a literal straitjacket that prohibits boys from expressing feelings or urges seen, mistakenly, as feminine, such as dependence, warmth, empathy, compassion. Pollock discovered that the boys' code affects the ability of boys and men to connect. Society's boy code makes boys feel ashamed of themselves. Shame haunts many boys all their lives, undermining their core self-confidence, eroding fragile self-esteem, leaving them with profound feelings of loneliness, sadness, and disconnection. The same kind of shame that silences adolescent girls from expressing their true voices affects boys at a much younger age, at age 5 and 6, or 6. Shame is not used in the Moose Hide campaign. That is why it is growing and making a difference. Sage Lacerte, a youth ambassador for the Moose Hide campaign, and sister and daughter of the two founders of the campaign, Raven and Paul Lacerte, she finds that post-secondary students want to contribute to the solution. She emphasized that when they ask men and boys to become involved, they want to feel that like they are calling them in rather than calling them out. David Stevenson, the CEO of the Moose Hide campaign, states, there has to be healthy, loving masculinity. That is the antidote. We call people into that space saying that you don't have to show up as a healthy person. You just have to show up and say, I'm willing to take a couple of steps and a couple of more. This past Wednesday, May 14th, at Queen's Park, during the Rally to End Violence, it was held on the annual Moose Hide Campaign Day. The acting executive director of the Moose Hide Campaign, Catherine Lacerte, said, this movement is built on conversations, on accountability, on healing, and on the belief that people can and do change. One conversation can plant a seed. One moment of reflection can interrupt a cycle of violence. One choice can change the future of a family forever.
So now we move into the program part of the presentation, and the readings are next. At the end of the readings, we customarily add the phrase, offered as wisdom for the journey, and we invite you to respond with the phrase, may we walk in its light. This is an invitation to participate if you wish to do so. The first reading. Just a bit of background. The readings today are taken from works by 3 writers, a poet, a dramatist, and a naturalist. It's important to note that we acknowledge the fallibility of all writers whose words are chosen for readings at West Hill. For while some of their works offer wisdom for the journey, other works may contain opinions to which we could or might object. The readings chosen today are ones that can bring light to our path. This particularly applies to the 3rd writer, John Muir, the American scientist, naturalist, environmentalist, and national park protector, born in 1838 and founder of the Sierra Club. His early writings express disrespectful views on Indigenous people and people of color, views shared by many of his colleagues and which had a negative effect and have been formally apologized for by the Sierra Club. Fortunately, Muir's later views evolved to ones of greater acceptance, and these readings are taken from 2 of his books, Our National Parks and Sierra. The first reading is by the English poet William Wordsworth, born in 1770, and famous for his poem Daffodils. The reading is taken from his poem The World is Too Much With Us. The second reading is by the English dramatist William Congreve, born exactly 100 years before Wordsworth, known for his satirical comedy of manners writing style. The reading is taken from 2 of his poems, The Morning Bride and Hymn to Harmony. The selections will be read as one reading, which is why I've given you all this introductory material rather than interspersing it. because each one answers the next. So think of this as a progression of a conversation. The world is too much with us. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. We have given our hearts away. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. Music hath charms to soothe the savage breast, to soften rocks, or bend a knotted oak. Music alone, with sudden charms, can bind the wandering sense and calm the troubled mind. Nature is ever at work, building, pulling down, creating, and destroying, keeping everything whirling and flowing, allowing no rest but in rhythmical motion, chasing everything in endless song out of one beautiful form into another. The sun shines not on us, but in us. The rivers flow not past, but through us, thrilling, tingling, vibrating every fiber and cell of the substance of our bodies, making them glide and sing. The trees wave and the flowers bloom in our bodies as well as our souls. And every bird song, wind song, and tremendous storm song of the rocks in the heart of the mountains is our song, our very own, and sings our love. Offered as wisdom for the journey. Scott Kearns, at the piano, is the music director at West Hill. He accompanies singing and improvises musical transitions and background throughout our gatherings. He has composed songs featuring values-based lyrics published in The Wonder of Life and Songs for Anyone, and has also written new lyrics for traditional tunes, such as we heard this morning to Wild Mountain Time, one of my favorite tunes. He has led music workshops at conferences in Canada, the US, UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and he's very well educated. Just listen to this, all these initials. He has a BA, he has an MDiv, he has an MSW, and he's got a diploma in gerontology, and he's completing a PhD in the humanities. He's going to have a name that's so long it's not going to fit on the page. He works as a social worker in long-term care in the region of Durham, where he develops and teaches ethics, rights, and communication. And I turn it over to Scott to do Music Is.
I need to do a little bit of housekeeping here. I need to. And then, if you wouldn't mind, I checked with Aiden and he said I could do this. Would you mind moving your chairs about a foot closer to me? If anyone needs help measuring a foot, you can ask for a neighbor. Thank you. Oh, that's so lovely.
It goes
Aiden,
for everyone online,
is that okay?
too. Please move a foot closer.
Aiden, we're good still with the visuals? Okay, excellent, excellent. Shakespeare, from The Merchant of Venice. The man that hath no music in himself, nor is moved with concord of sweet sound, is fit for treasons, stratagems, and spoils. The motions of his spirit are dull as night, and his affections dark as a rebus. Let no such man be trusted, mark my word. So I'm assuming you'll all do very well on this quiz because you have music in you. A quiz. Now, I'm going to tell you Joe asked for a quiz. We got a quiz. I'm going to say the hint and wait till I finish to shout out the name of the song. If you're the kind in class that eagerly shot their hand up before the teacher had even finished each time, you were probably unpopular. So I'll tell you the hint, and you tell me the name of the song. A song by the Andrews Sisters about a brass instrument. It was from the Abbott and Costello comedy film, Bach Privates, and it starts with the word boogie. You can shout it out now. Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy of Company D. The original title of this song was Casey Would Waltz with a Strawberry Blonde. And the bands played on. A song that in the middle has lines from Will the Circle Be Unbroken? Sung by Johnny Cash in 1968. Daddy sang bass. That's right. That's the name. Are these familiar? Some of these are familiar. Daddy sings bass. You'll tell your age by the familiarity of these songs. Martin's too dumb. If I stretch this word out, dance to the music. In the stage version, this song is sung in a living room. But in the movie version, it is sung on a mountaintop twirling around. You were led to come up with the Sound of Music, but no, it was Do Re Mi, the So-Fa song. One of the first psychedelic pop chart toppers, Joe, an Ohio-based group called the Lemon Pipers. Perhaps Joe was in that group at the time. And it starts with the jingle jangle start to shine, reflections of the music that is mine. When you toss a coin in, you'll hear it sing. Now listen while I play my green tambourine. Oh, some of you are mouthing it to me. Say it to me. Put some music in your voice. He can make you love. He can make you cry. Something keeps going miles and miles a day. David Gates and Bread sang it, and it was about a person who played a particular instrument, the guitar man. Do you not know that song by Bread? Look it up. Very lovely. A song by B.J. Thomas won a Grammy for the best country song, later sung by Alvin and the Chipmunks. Hey, won't you play another Somebody Done Something Wrong song? This has been played by Louis Armstrong, Jimmy Dorsey, Benny Goodman, Bing Crosby, the Kansas Philharmonic Orchestra. It has been sung by Gene Kelly, Judy Garland, Ethel Merman, Ella Fitzgerald, and more recently, Rolf and Fozzie on The Muppet Show. But Fozzie couldn't keep up. And it's called I've Got Rhythm. Yes, thank you. How far away did that come from? I Got Rhythm. And by The Happenings. Go home and listen to it by The Happenings. Absolutely lifts your soul. This one was number one on the Hot 100 chart in 1976. I love this song. The writer was initially reluctant to record it because the lyrics, if you listen to them carefully, you would think that the singer was singing about himself, and it could be misinterpreted as a monumental ego trip. Barry Manilow sang it, and it's called I Write the Songs That Make the Whole World Sing. And people thought that was, but it was, he was singing as music. He was the music. This song was originally called True Love and Apple Pie. True Love and Apple Pie. The lyrics were rewritten as a jingle for the Coca-Cola Company. And in their words, it was, "I'd like to buy the world a Coke," featuring a multicultural collection of people on a hill. Do you remember that ad? But it was rewritten and sung by the New Seekers, who's a beautiful, beautiful folk tune group. "I'd like to teach the world to sing." It was beautiful, I can hear it. This writer arrived home and got into a disagreement with his wife. This could have been me, but it isn't in this example. Instead of arguing with her, his wife Ingrid stated that he went downstairs, started to play like he always did when he wrote, and the next morning he came up early in the morning and sang it to me. Jim Croce sang, "I'll have to say I love you in a song." There's a background for you. I'll keep that in mind. Written and performed by Billy Joel, it throws sarcastic comments about modern music and uses images from his hometown. He was complaining about new fad music, and he stuck his stubbornness in to say, "It's still rock and roll to me." If it's not a new song, clearly it's the same old song written by the Four Tops and sung. It's 1965. How many were you were at least listening to popular music in 1965? Yes, okay. Just wanted to. Roberta Flack was evidently being figuratively killed by someone playing a guitar, killing me softly with his song. Yeah. One song has only one note. It doesn't. It has a variety of notes, but it is called the one-note samba. Chris is right with us, isn't he? A Chuck Berry song in which a famous classical composer is being told to perform certain calisthenics. Oh, you got that. I thought I would be, yes, very good. A very specific, large number of brass sliding instruments marching down the street. 76 trombones from the musical called The Music Man by Meredith Willson in 1962. There was the stage and there was the movie, and the female singer, her name is escaping me, but she was later in the Partridge Family. But wonderful, wonderful singer. There are a bunch of S songs. Paul McCartney sang Another Silly Love Song. Joe Raposa wrote this for Sesame Street, and it was popularized by the Carpenters, and it was still just simply called Sing a Song. In my home, early in my growing up home, popular music wasn't even listened to. That was worldly, and we had tons of wonderful music, classical music, everything. But I was once playing that song in the house, and my dad heard it, and he said, "Well, I like that one." It was very nice. It was pretty hard not to like that one. And then another S song is, I love this one, by Earth, Wind, and Fire, Sing a Song. Do you know that driving song? Very good. Elton John said, "Sad songs say so much." Neil Diamond put a color into one of his songs about song blue. Who put the what in the what? Who put the bop in the bop, shabop, shabop? Evidently, at the opening of a concert series, Leonard Nimoy, Spock, quoted that to open his speech, which I thought was a very interesting way to open your speech. One of my all-time favorite, this is named after a bridge over the East River at a certain street in New York City, and one of the first songs to ever use the word, sadly, groovy. The 59th Street Bridge song, or called Feeling Groovy. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Feeling, I love that song. And finally, a song while twirling around on a mountaintop that celebrates the sound of music. The sound of music, right. Music, it's when you're given a topic that's so broad, there is a billion things I could bring to you, and things you might be so familiar with, your heart warms to it, and other things you've never heard before. I brought a few things from home here to illustrate some of the points I'm going to be making. But first, I wanted to say, personally, and for people I've known, music accompanies us through so many parts of our life, our difficulties, our joys, milestones, losses, relationships, memories. For instance, the most recognizable song in the world, the most recognizable song in the world is Happy Birthday, which possibly wasn't written by those two sisters that say that they wrote it. There's a wondering about that. The next most recognizable song is For He's a Jolly Good Fellow, sung at many congratulations. Now, I won't give a name, but it was so endearing to me. This happened many years ago, over 10 years ago, maybe over 15 years ago here. And a certain member of our family here was celebrating, I'm saying where he was, celebrating something like 50 years in chaplaincy work. And so I played, when the service was over, I played For He's a Jolly Good Fellow, and we celebrated that. I went into the lounge afterwards, and his wife came up to me utterly sincerely and said, "Why did you play The Bear Went Over the Mountain for my husband?" And I said, "Oh, no, I didn't play A Bear Went Over the Mountain. I played For He's a Jolly Good Fellow." And I sang the two of them in my head, and it's exactly the same. But for some reason, she went immediately to The Bear Went Over the Mountain and said, "Oh, I wasn't even suggesting that he's dying or something. I don't know what." But anyway, so it's the second most recognizable song in the world. Two different words. Graduations, can you hear the music? I sometimes fool around with that here. Pomp and circumstance songs, you know right away you're honoring students' lives. Team sports, cheers and school songs. Does anyone remember their school song? I do. Sarasota Junior High, colors white and blue. We love you, something like that. That was my in Florida, sung with gusto. Then hockey games and the Olympics, the music of the Olympics accompanies that. Funerals. A long time ago, it was almost appropriate to play more very sad and mourning type songs and strong hymns. And these days, the music is often chosen to reflect the life of the person that has passed in more of a celebratory way. War. Music accompanies war and remembrance of war. Pipes and drums, the bugle, the taps. Just the sound of taps, the sound of reveille is very moving. And wartime songs. We bought a record in England when we were there of wartime songs that kept spirits up. And there were songs about Run, Rabbit, Run. I'd never heard that one. And then songs that mocked Hitler in a sort of a light way, but it was for people's spirits to be kept up. It wouldn't be too appropriate to sing it now. And then how many of you roasted marshmallows around a fire and you sing campfire songs? So music's been part of all of our parts of our life. It accompanies our moods. Now, major and minor scales. If you didn't know what a key was, I'll say minor is when a song sounds, to me, sad or contemplative or mourning. To other people in the minor key, it sounds rich and deep. And I'm talking to you about initially getting to know Greta, because I liked major songs that were happy and with gusto. And she very much liked them. So I wrote my first song in the minor key for her, because she found the minor richer, more meaningful. So it's so much, and this is going to be a theme we're going to be talking about, so much a matter of taste and experience and how that song, what it reminds you of. Now, the word music comes from the 9 muses, which were goddesses in the Greek mythology, and they all had to do something to do with creativity, but one of them, the muse, was about lyrical poetry, so that's musical-sounding poetry, and music itself. And technically, I'll just give you one technical definition. Music is an art form and cultural activity whose medium is sound organized in time. Sound organized in time. So a melody, the tune, to what we sing, proceeds horizontally along in time. Maybe pause, maybe, but it's going this way for me. The melody goes this way. It doesn't turn around. If it turns around, that's what it's doing forward. It doesn't double back on itself. It keeps going. Harmony takes those notes that are going this way and puts notes under it all the way along. And depending on what you put there, the melody note sounds completely different. So I'm going to test this with you. I'm going to move over to the piano. Is there a microphone there you could hold for me? And I'm going to show you that the sound changes depending what harmony comes under the melody. Okay, I'm going to play the note C. Have you ever heard that before? Yeah, okay, you're familiar. That's good, you're familiar. I'm going to ask Babette to sing that note, just that note, and I'm going to accompany it with nothing that's going to change the sound of that note at all. Okay?
Everyone sing with me. La, we're just going to hold this note. Is that okay? La.
Okay, now, nothing changed, right? It just seemed to fit that note exactly. Now I'm going to play things that don't fit at all. So that's why you're not singing, just Babette. Just hang on to that note.
All right. La.
That's called modern music. I never could quite get into it. Actually, it's just called a bunch of mistakes is what I was playing. But now I'm going to play a whole bunch of different chords that actually go with what your note is, but you're just singing that note. You're not singing anything else, just that note.
Okay. La. Nice. Oh, I'll take that.
Were any of you online singing that note? Were any of you singing? Oh, thanks. Very good. Very good. So it depends what's going under that to how it sounds. Some forms of new music were objected to as that's not music at all. I grew up with some of those being called that. But Beethoven's Grosse Fugue string quartet was called not music at all in 1825. Bold people, I'd say, to object to that. Early jazz in the beginning of the 1900s was called not music at all, just, you know. And then opera, to many people, is not music at all. It's just screaming, right? Some people just can't handle opera. And some sea shanties and folk songs are considered not really music at all. Some people feel that film scores, the soundtracks to modern movies, is not as valuable as classical music. And I say it's just as rich, just as beautiful if you listen to movie soundtracks. And video games, the classical station in Toronto here, 96.3, has a section where they play video game music as a form of classical music. So whether something sounds good to you is a matter of individual taste, your background, your experience, your exposure, and sometimes what you're going through right at the moment. There's an enormous amount of variety to pick from. And also interpretation, bringing your own experience to a song or letting a song affect your experience. So I want to bring you a few things from my life growing up about music. I, at age 7, asked my parents, would you please enroll me in piano lessons? No, I did not say that at all. I did not want to take piano. They bought a piano and put it in our house, and then they made us take piano lessons forcefully. So here, my key didn't make it into the suitcase was empty, right? Oh, I brought a key. I guess I left it at home. I brought one of the keys from my original piano that my sister had for a long, long time, and then it sort of died slowly. And I keep it with me because that's a piano key I touched at age 7, hating it, and then loving it later on. How many of you took piano lessons in your life? How many took piano lessons? Lots of people. How many had asked to take piano lessons? Oh, some of you had that. Whoa, wow. How many of you quit? I couldn't. I wasn't allowed to quit. We had to do grade 8 Royal Conservatory, theory, harmony, and history, and there we go. And I've told you so many times, I've thanked my mother over and over and over again for that. Plato said, I would teach children music, physics, and philosophy, but most importantly, music, for the patterns in music and all the arts are the keys to learning everything else. That's what he said. Miss Moore, Mrs. Verheuel, and Mrs. Bell, may they rest in peace. They gave me none. They were my piano teachers. I never had a nice piano teacher. Never, not once. You would think it would have turned me off completely. My sister didn't think they were that bad, but I did. They required, in between lessons, that you practice. How they could meddle with my free time, I don't know how they thought they could do that, but they said it would be better, and each time I would come to the lesson no farther ahead than I was before, they seemed to blame it on my lack of practicing, and so, but I did stick through it, and I'm glad I did. Music in my home was also, in my age, was taught in school. How many took music in your school, in your public school? And it's hardly taught at all anymore in a public school. I remember the music teacher, she would sometimes go from class to class or from school to school. My aunt was a music teacher in Nova Scotia and went from little school to do that. And then I learned to play the organ, the pipe organ at a small church. The organ was asthmatic and rheumatoid, wheezy and unresponsive in ways, but I loved it. We weren't allowed to listen to popular music till I was in my mid-teens. And I remember getting a transistor radio. How many ever took your transistor radio to bed and listened to it after you were supposed to not? I did. The last one I can remember doing that with was God Only Knows by the Beach Boys, which I would wait to hear that before I went to sleep. And I have a record here. This is mine. I think I had 3 in my lifetime because we weren't supposed to, but somehow I got one of my favorite songs by Leslie Gore, California Nights. And I was younger, and we were going to California and Arizona, and I thought I would bring it with me so I could hear California Nights in California. And of course, I got to hold it in California, but I couldn't play it anyway. I don't know what I was thinking, but I brought it to California with me so I could hear it. The Music Hour. I found this in a secondhand shop. This is full of songs for children. It's 1946, and in the front of it, it says, this book, issued 1945, is the property of the New Brunswick government and should be returned to the teacher in good condition on or before June 30th each year. So you were told. There's a version of O Canada in this hymn book, 1946, and the title is O Canada, Our Father's Land of Old. That's what the song was called back there in 1946. If you took piano lessons, did you grow up with staff paper and you had to write the notes neatly? Because if you didn't put them on the right line and space, it seemed to make a difference in the music that you played. Another song throughout my life, strung on a railing outside in our hallway. My mom She had bells everywhere in our house. Everywhere in our house. Loved the kinds of them. We have them on our doors to know if someone is breaking into the house. So we will hear this cacophony. And her choir gave her the only book on bells I've ever seen, the collector's book on bells. And my mom gave talks about bells in different organizations. We've come across homemade instruments. I was in England, in Birmingham, in a secondhand shop, and we brought this home with us. Someone made out of a box the likeness of a violin. Must have been strings on it, and they found a definite top of that and put it on for some child somewhere. And I've kept this right beside my piano at home all the time because I love whoever made that to bring music to a child. It was beautiful. But this in another secondhand shop is a piece of bamboo which makes music. And I love that. That's all kept on the other side of my piano. And then I was visiting one of you, and you said, this should live in your home. And I recognized it immediately as a Tibetan chank shell horn used in ceremonies in Tibet. Thank you, Frank. He has so much music in his little house in the back of his house, and this was hanging there, and that is a seashell called a chank. It's a very big chank, and I won't blow it, but this was used to call people to worship and to signal that someone had died. It's beautiful. You're welcome to hold it. Just don't drop it. And then there is something called music. Hang on. Thanks to Babette for leaving these all out. Greta gave me this for Christmas, The Musical Human, A History of Life on Earth in Terms of Music. And the inside says, 165 million years ago saw the birth of rhythm. 66 million years ago was the first melody. 66 million years ago. And then there is music criticism. Music we don't like. There's a composer I don't like at all. Won't tell you who. And I've been coached by different people who love me to not let that show on my face when someone says that's their favorite composer. So I've worked on that. I'm a little better. There's instruments we love and don't love. For instance, Mark Twain says, a gentleman is someone who knows how to play the banjo and doesn't. And the composer Wagner, big music, Wagner, said to the conductor, don't look at the trombones, it only encourages them. And then there's kinds of music. There's country music, there's opera music, there's all sorts of, I believe there's 1,200 definable genres in music now. 1,200. You'll find one that likes you. There's criticism of music. George Bernard Shaw, famous for his plays, also criticized music. He was a critic of music. That's not an objection. He commented on it. And I just wanted to read you this little line of his here. I have been to the opera 6 times this week, and I still live. He also wrote The Great Composers by George Bernard Shaw, and he goes into an insult of poor Schumann, saying that it might have been more delicately played, but in my concern, it wouldn't have made any difference. Why is he called a composer? Of Robert Schumann. Then there is birdsong. Aidan will now introduce you to one of their hits. Just keep that going for a bit, Aiden. If you've opened your door and heard that, when you're down, when you're lonely, when you're whatever, they are singing to us. I grew up with the golden, blue, yellow, and green book on birds. I cherish these. I keep them in my... daren't open them because they'd fall apart. But then my mother bought us this book, Birdscapes, and if you know, are you seeing this online? Can you see what I'm holding there? You can see it, yes? You can hear it? I love this. I do this all the time. Turn it off. All right, to close, we use music, and music blesses us, our hearts in our difficult times. Music is, as Martin mentioned, thank you for all you say, but it's used in music therapy for dementia and also for grieving and grief. There's a company called the 2017 Foundation, and they use music and birdsong in their therapy with residents in hospitals. Whether it's minor or major, whether it's loud or soft, whether it's by instruments, whether it's by voices, whether it's by birds, whether it's by whatever, it comes down to we are the composers of the soundtrack of our life. We are the composers of the soundtrack of our life. We make music with what we do, what we decide not to do, what we care about, what we put our time and energy in. And we want that song to be heard sometimes, and sometimes it's very private. Other people are making music all around us. If right now I asked you in your heads to think of a song, and then we played it out loud all at once, there'd be lots of different songs. Your playlist is different than my playlist. But the music that we make with each other to encourage, to strengthen, to console, to comfort, make our own kind of music. And the words from Sing, don't worry if it's not good enough for anyone else to hear. Just sing a song. And Nietzsche said, and those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. And so, whatever your dance is, that you are dancing the meaning of your life. Some people close to you would understand maybe, but maybe not, because they might be hearing the music, but it's worth it to share. And as Jean read in the readings this morning, music has penetrated into the depth of who we are. And the music we make together every Sunday and other times is something I appreciate with all my heart.
Become a sustaining champion of West Hill United's work by committing to an automatic monthly donation. Learn more or donate now through Canada Helps.